And I see Hillary Clinton said, I do not like Donald Trump's tone. Look, here's the story. I think I have a great temperament. She uses the word temperament, but I loved when she used the word tone. I do not like Donald Trump's tone. They're chopping off heads of Christians and anybody else that gets in their way, chopping heads off. We haven't seen that since medieval times, right? You read the history books. They chopped off heads. Well, they're chopping off heads. They're drowning people in steel cages by the dozens at a time. And she says, we don't like his tone. Let me tell you, folks, it's time for a tough tone. We've had enough. We've had enough. We've had enough. We've had enough. So we're going to do things the smart way. I remember during the debate, they asked one of the folks on the debate stage, who's becoming friendlier and friendlier by the day with me, which some of the people are recovering. It was, I'll tell you what, they say it was the nastiest primary that anybody has seen. They say the nastiest in recorded history. Who knew what went on before recorded? But it was pretty nasty. And some of the folks, I saw one yesterday, I will not even mention names because I want to be friends with everybody, right? I'm going to be friends with them. Except for the real enemy. But they'll sign a document, right? It's called the pledge. I pledge, I swear I pledge that if I don't make it, I'm going to support the nominee of the party. It doesn't say subject to change, subject to the weather, subject to the sun doesn't come up. No, it said, I pledge. And for that pledge, they got access to millions of dollars worth of material from the Republican National Committee, the RNC. Reince Priebus, a great guy. By the way, great guy. He's doing a great job. Got to tell you. Reince Priebus doing a great job. And if he wasn't, I'd tell you. And if he doesn't over the next 4 or 5 weeks, I'll tell you, but he is. He's a good man. And his whole staff is doing a great job. But they got access. So they signed a pledge that they will support. Now, I don't want their support. It won't mean one vote other than perhaps their family. It doesn't mean anything. But I signed the pledge too, and everybody wanted to sign the pledge. And the reason they signed the pledge was to get me to sign it. I signed it. I would have honored it. I just say people should honor pledges. People should honor documents when they sign them. You know, not a big deal. Not a big deal, but they should honor. So here's the story, folks. We're losing our country. We're like a piece of Swiss cheese at the borders. That's gonna end. You know, the Border Patrol agents, 16,500, first time in history that they did this. They've never done this before. 16,500 Border Patrol agents have endorsed Donald Trump. They know better than anybody what's going on at the border. And by the way, if and when we win, it's we. I'm just a messenger, folks. I'm telling a message of common sense. I'm telling a message of strength. But I'm your messenger. And I'm doing a good job as a messenger. I mean, you know, in all fairness. But 16,500 Border Patrol agents endorsed Donald Trump. If they didn't, their job's much easier. What they do now is they stand there, beautiful equipment, great people. People walk right by them. That's an easy job. They can't stand it because they don't like what's coming into our country. They want to do their job. With me, they're going to be working really hard. And I said to them when they called me to tell me about the endorsement, never done it before. They've never endorsed a presidential candidate before. 16,500 great, great people. And I said to them, so let me tell you, I want to ask you this question. How important is the wall? They said, Mr. Trump, the wall is vital. I don't know what I would have done if they said it's not important. I would have had to say, I guess we're not building it because I respect these people. They know better than anybody. They know a hell of a lot better than the consultants and all these people that are making millions of dollars that don't have a clue. Who's better at that? I said, how important is the wall? Mr. Trump, never forget the answer. The wall is vital. It's vital. Very important. Very important. They actually said it's a tool toward real security, an important tool. And then I spoke with Sheriff Joe Arpaio from Arizona, and he called me out of the blue, and I've read about Sheriff Joe. I mean, he knows borders, right? Amazing guy. Tough guy, but he's an amazing guy. And he said, Mr. Trump, I just want you to know that I'm endorsing you because you know more about this stuff than anybody. You know more about this stuff than people doing it for 25 years. You get it. You know what's happening. I'm endorsing you. And he's actually a quality person. He's a tough guy, but he's a quality person. He gets the job done. Amazing. So I know about that. And when it was coming time for the wall, I'll never forget Vicente Fox, your former president, on one of the major networks, used the F-bomb. Remember it? I told this story a couple of times. He said, we will not pay for the F-bomb wall. I said, oh, he's dead. Hey, can you imagine? It's going to be headlines tomorrow. He used it on live television. I said, oh, I feel so badly for the guy. Now, in one way, I was happy because he used to say, we'll never build the wall. Now he's saying we'll never pay for the wall. So we made a lot of progress. At least he's now admitting it's going to get built. Right? And he seemed like a nice guy, but he got a little bit rough. We will never pay for the F-bomb wall. I said, oh, the poor guy, he's going to get killed tomorrow in the papers. Nobody mentioned it. Can you imagine if I threw out the F-bomb? I think it would be the electric chair, right? Would it be electric chair? Now, the press, I have to tell you, those people back there, I will tell you this. Not all of them, but many of them, are the most dishonest human beings on earth. They are the most dishonest human beings on earth. I've had days that are so good, and then you wake up the next morning and you say, man, did they take that. I won't even say what things, I could go one after another. And we don't make a lot of mistakes, all of us. We don't make mistakes. But what they do is they'll take a sentence and they'll make it much different than what you said, much different from what you meant. And all of a sudden they'll say, Donald Trump had a bad week because he said something perfect. Perfect. Okay? Perfect. I'm telling you, folks, and I tell it all the time, because as a Republican and as a Republican conservative, we are at a tremendous disadvantage. You look at the way they treat Crooked Hillary. You take a look at this compared to the way they treat other people or the way they treat me. They are some of the worst human beings on earth. I really mean it. I really mean it. You know, where are my protesters? I want some protesters. You know, look at this room. The governor just said he's never seen a room like this in Indiana with this many people. He's never seen anything like it. Look at this thing. This is where your football team, look at the ceilings. Everything's nice. Let's see, well, my high. You know, I always talk about the wall's going to be real high, but that's really high up there. That's a big one. But they don't see crowds like this. We have crowds like this everywhere, no matter where we go. And every time I go home, my wife said, how was the crowd? And I always say, didn't you see it? They keep those cameras on my face. They never take the cameras off my face because they don't want people. I wish they'd turn those cameras over here. Take a look at this crowd. Take a look at this crowd. Look, the cameras aren't moving. They're really dishonest. I really mean this. They are so dishonest. That's why I love my protesters, because the only time they move the cameras are when we have a protest. If somebody were up there screaming or shouting, the cameras, which I used to think were in a fixed position, I said maybe mechanically they can't move. But when we have a protester, they turn and they're like a pretzel all over the wow. through the cameraman's legs, up around his ankles. You never saw cameras move like this. The fact is that you have to know what you're getting. And the system is wonderful in many ways, but really bad in others. And one of the worst aspects of our system is the dishonest press. The dishonest media. It's one of the worst things. I really mean it. They write and say things that are disgraceful. So, and I like to say, you know why? Because when people see things or read things or hear things, they'll say, I'll tell you what, one of the most incredible, people said, what have you learned? I said, you know what I've learned? How smart the people are. Because their rating is so low, they're so thought of so badly, it's like how smart the people were. And I'll say this, various anchors, some of whom truly dislike Donald Trump, have said, what's happened to us, I'm messenger, you're the important ones in this whole thing. But what happened to us is one of the greatest political phenomena they've ever seen in this country, in the history of the country. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that.